Thank you everyone for joining. We got a lot of people in here today. Looks like 42 in the audience right now. This is our monthly Globe Council of HODLers. So, this is where we get together, talk about what's happening on Globe, some of the latest news. James, the founder CEO of Globe, is here to talk about those things, and additionally, what's happening in the industry. Yeah, so we're working with key partners in the industry, and there's a lot of things, a lot of stuff cooking at Globe that we'd like to talk about. So please welcome up James.
All right, hey everyone. So first of all, Bitcoin's reached and retraced from new all-time highs. It feels pretty amazing, and volumes on Globe broadly track that. A lot of it's been really just existing holders moving back out of stablecoin after they kind of panicked into stablecoin around sort of mid-May, and just went back into the majors. And so we've seen a lot of majors kind of go on a bull run, and actually a lot of altcoins just sit there or even dump 30-40% from the kind of mini season that we had in September, as kind of big buyers sort of reallocate back into majors. There are also really big signs of institutional buyers stepping into the market again and just lending a strong hand. It feels to me just like November last year. So one of the sort of key indicators you get is people very, very clearly doing algorithmic execution, and algorithmic execution with buys. And they're just buys to hold. They're going to be there for 4 years. But you'll see weird bits of price manipulation and weird just sort of spiraling VWAP style price executions from some of the big players in the market. And we're seeing trillion-dollar investment funds both becoming customers of Globe, and also publicly announced their entry into the market. So PIMCO, I think it's maybe $3 trillion, $2 trillion asset manager, who is getting into crypto and who's probably part of this sort of weird algorithmic buying that you're seeing on the spot markets and kind of rippling through onto the futures markets. On a lighter note, we're finally moving out of our homes and back into offices. So I should be around London sometime next week again, with the UK starting to open up if anyone wants to go for a beer in person. I look forward to it.
Yeah, and hopefully, I'm hoping with the institutional buy-ins, we continue the super cycle narrative.
I like that they HODL for life.
HODL for life.
Or at least for the rest of the super cycle.
Yeah. Next up is what's new. These are some of the things that we're working on and coming up for Globe.Exchange.
So, I mean, we've really become more than just a futures exchange, and as such, we're rebranding to Globe.Exchange. That'll be a domain name switch over as well. A lot of that is just due to the massive growth we've seen in our institutional and business-oriented wealth products, the launch of spot trading coming up, fiat on-ramp coming up, launch and then cessation of OTC services, the continued launch of further exotic futures that we've got coming, the sportsbook and NFT projects that we have in the works, the IEOs and gems, and all the rest of that stuff. A lot of our future updates will come from that domain, so please don't panic if you see emails from Globe.Exchange and wonder who that is. We know a lot of the Globe.dx.com emails still go to people's spam, and it's been a long process trying to re-educate spam filters following the public sale. And it's just sort of a painful consequence of doing a public sale, that you'll get tens of millions of spoofed emails from your domain teaching spam filters entirely the wrong thing and giving you serious difficulties communicating with your community. So sidestepping to a slightly different domain is part of fixing that issue, or is sort of shortcutting the normal fix of that issue. We've seen, I think, one of the strongest revenue growth curves of a new exchange, hitting something like $10 million of ARR currently, with a lot more further growth baked into our wealth and asset management lines, particularly with the institutional numbers, potentially sort of 100xing in a month or two. That's actually driven our largest ever buy and burn. So as a reminder, all fees, all products that Globe offer, do result in buy and burns at slightly different rates and slightly different mechanics around it. But we will always ensure that we are effectively charging fees for our services in our native token GDT, and thus putting buy pressure on the token. Yeah, I mean, I think in the 5 months or thereabouts since the launch of the future stuff, on a pure revenue basis, we've been one of the fastest growing exchanges ever. Not that too many exchanges disclose their revenue numbers, especially at this point. So on the subject of futures, we had 67% month-on-month growth, which was good. It'd be nicer to keep it around 2x month-on-month and just kind of ride that out for a year, which kind of comfortably puts anyone as sort of a top 5, top 10 exchange, I expect. We're now sort of sitting more like 10 times our launch monthly volumes. And we saw all new records for peak liquidity. So about $2 million was sitting in the order book. I think I saw like 7 p.m., 8 p.m. UTC last night when the Bitcoin price was wandering very, very disinterestedly sideways and mean reverting around a very narrow channel. And then probably sat some more like 500K. What's it sitting at now? Yeah, about 500K of liquidity now. And that improved liquidity has driven, a commensurate increase in trading volumes, as you would expect. As a consequence of kind of changing the way that we do market making and introducing, bigger market makers that take greater responsibilities, as we talked about in the last live stream. A lot of people have been asking about spot trading. So the GDT, USDT and BTC USDT pairs will be launching on November 17th. They've actually been low-key hidden in the exchange for the last, I think, was it 3 weeks? So part of it was that we wanted to change how the wallet system worked so that we could introduce unified margin on the futures. We wanted to introduce spot trading, and we were migrating all of the servers. And that is a huge amount of logistical complexity, and we didn't want days of downtime. And so the first step was the wallet change. So now, when you make a deposit, it lands in your spot wallet, and you can reallocate that into your derivatives wallet. Essentially, just showing you, okay, that's how the unified margin stuff is going to work, and you can put your COPE in there, you can put your GDT in there, you can put whatever other token you want to in your derivatives wallet once we set up the custody for them. The spot trading itself, it's going to be through the same anchor market making partner that we have running the futures markets, and a few of the other ones will be jumping in as well. It'll start off with 2 pairs, and we just wanted to make sure this time around that everyone knew it was coming quite a few days ahead, which is why we've gone for middle of November and given 2 weeks or thereabouts for people to learn the new wallet system. So that's spot trading. The core futures trading experience, we've continued to invest there. So now there's order book aggregation. There are 3 different themes: light, dark, classic. There's take profit orders. Just make it, I think, easier to sleep at night if you have a particular kind of profit-taking thesis around your trades. We mentioned the wallet split. We changed up the announcement system just so it's easier to track. The sort of 5 minutes of downtime that we typically have on a major release. The wallet system, I think, was more like an hour. So just smoothing that kind of stuff out, make it easy to trade around it. The businesses already generally have account managers, but if you're just a regular trader and you don't have anyone that you can instantly pick up the phone to, a Globe rather than me over Telegram, it just makes that a little bit easier to track. We've shipped a number of security improvements. I think the withdrawal password system is now live. That is more of a business-oriented product, but it's just good security for everyone. There's now a sessions-based system just to protect anyone downloading whatever viruses through whatever stuff you're getting on your computers, causing issues with your futures trading. So that's the core sort of trading experience and the continued investment that we've been putting in there. The token price has been really flat in October and November. Part of that has just been it's seen the strongest sell pressure of its history, with about, if you look at the blockchain, about 30% of strategic buyers flipping out. Those tokens have more or less just gone into strong hands, and so you've just seen a very, very strong and flat kind of period of accumulation on the token. When the vesting period ends in about 2 weeks, it should be a good time for the buyers to start winning, because there is a lot of very strong buy pressure on this token. Not least us for all of the buybacks that we're doing, across all of our business lines. Institutional wealth products are now in trial phase. I I can't disclose the names of the clients yet, but there are trillion-dollar asset managers getting into crypto and getting large allocations. So we'll see about quite how much we're going to add to our book, but right now they're giving us money and they seem happy with the results to date. So that's what's new for the last month and a half.
Yeah, thank you for the update on what's new on Globe, as well as the free alpha on GDT. It's exciting to get some free alpha. But yeah, thank you for the updates. And next up, we have what's cooking, which is the roadmap for the rest of the quarter. It's November. It's almost end of 2020. We're looking at 2021.
Yes.
Excuse me. We're looking at
I hope it does
2022
that to you,
coming up.
man. I keep thinking it's still 2020.
Yeah. There's a lot of exciting things that's planned at Globe. And if you could share some of them, James, that'd be really great.
Sure. So this effectively is a roadmap for the rest of the year with about a month and a half left of 2021 or 2020 if you're still suffering the consequences of the virus. So the biggest piece is the unified margin linear futures. That's like 3 to 4 major changes to the futures trading product. I think that really fixes most of the issues people have with Quantos. And actually, I think in the last few weeks, even BitMEX have announced and partially executed on that same move away from Quantos. I think even their Quanto products were seeing, sort of 15K daily volume on an exchange that, used to have sort of 250,000 traders on it at peak, on a major coin, right, on sort of a top 5, top 10 coin. And that I think it just speaks to people's changing risk management preferences, which we've identified, and we'll be shipping major improvements to. Yeah, I mean, so that's sort of the last part of this big split up of wallet changes, spot, and then sort of new futures changes. I think we'll see further improvements in liquidity. That's due to the price discovery still happening in Tokyo, and so market makers just getting much more comfortable being tight in Tokyo versus being tight in London, which is where some of the servers are now. Broadly, you're looking at sort of 600 millis of round trip Tokyo to London, and as a market maker looking at all the price action in Tokyo and trying to figure out what you should be doing with your quotes, people feel much safer, for that half a second of where's the price about to go. So I think we'll see more depth as a consequence of that too. The final part of that is the new fees. So we'll be offering 5 bips basic fee down from 7.5. You should be able to get that down to 4 very easily, and then down a bit lower as you accumulate more GDT. We'll release more details of that closer to the time, together with new video tutorials around everything. On the mobile side, we know how much people want mobile. A lot of people even just write to me just saying, like, I'm not trading on this until I can do it on my phone. For whatever reason, don't want to use a desktop. That's fine. We've got you covered. The least predictable thing about mobile is just when the mobile stores are actually, the iOS store and the Android store are going to accept the apps. We don't have confirmation on those dates yet. We're going to announce, the release when we know, rather than mess around. But it's in development. Broadly, because of all the other new products that we're releasing kind of around the same time, we're constantly having to update the mobile offering to try and keep pace with that. I don't want a mobile offering that's a month behind the rest of the core exchange, because that's often 2 to 3 products that you won't have access to. So that's what's happening with mobile. There's a separate mobile app which has been going for a while. We've exposed the API. It's a broader integration play. We can't announce anything until it happens, but I think there'll be a lot of upside in that one too. Fiat on-ramp, or just buying crypto as it's usually labeled. We've sorted out partnerships around that. I think we even tested out this week in production, and sort of a sneaky side production side, which most people don't know about. I think we'll probably release it later this month. Yeah, we have sort of a broader, customer re-engagement, new customer acquisition strategy that we're about to roll out, and we just want to make sure that all those people that we bring in, especially if they're new to crypto or new to Globe and just don't have crypto, they can easily move over from another exchange, are easily able to get that up and working. So that's a big new product that's coming too. On the business side, so we've been doing an integration with Copper Clear Loop for some time. The API has been up for a couple of weeks now, for those of you who may have spotted it on spotted the endpoint. Everything's signed. We're just waiting whilst their tech team sorts that out, and then we'll start to see a lot more of the businesses who bought the token in the pre-sale start to actually trade, because it satisfies the conditions that their investors require to be able to trade on any exchange. Broadly, it's just a different custodial model. So effectively, Copper always hold the assets and just inform Globe whether or not they can be used. Cool. Next up, we are building an NFT marketplace. I know there have been a few rumors around this circulating. That will broadly be a part of the move into sportsbook, just because that's a cleaner sort of regulatory approach. We have some offerings planned in art. And we'll be building, I think, one of the first properly native Avalanche-based NFT marketplaces as part of a broader, emphasis on new layer ones and Avalanche in particular. We think that'll come late this year. We're also working on sort of building out some of the first lending and fractionalization platforms for NFTs. That is a little bit more problematic from a regulatory perspective, because some regulators have different opinions about what's a security and what's not, and somehow an NFT isn't, but the second you chop it into 3 pieces, it is, in some opinions, which I think is questionable. So tentatively Q1 2022, that's really what's happening with regulations around that, and how compelling people find the early use cases. We mentioned last time the NFT floor futures that we're building. I think we'll probably time that around the same time as the marketplace. Just a quite synergistic product that you can kind of trade the broader indices on ranges of NFTs, and you can also just straight up buy them or trade sort of secondary markets on NFTs. We've also started building out, particularly with kind of Facebook's rebrand to Meta, Metaverse futures, which will be new index products, just giving you low hassle index access to the metaverse as it comes out, and we'll be publishing a few more bits of content around that. Yeah, that's most of what's coming.
In terms of what's coming, I think there's one more thing we wanted to cover, which is Globe Gems.
Oh yeah.
Do we want to
I
share
don't
a
think
little
we
more
can
about
just
this?
yet. I think it's too early.
Too
Yeah,
spicy.
there were a few deals that just sort of moved around a bit as the market recovered. Sort of pretty much just 180 in May. We've been rethinking how we want to do gems. There are some interesting ones that we have our eyes on, and I think we just, we'll announce them like a week before they come out, rather than talk about them in a live stream.
Gotcha. I think that sounds good. Then next up, we have the question and answers. Actually really like some of these questions. Which is better, Star Wars or Star Trek? What's your favorite soccer team? Football team.
All right, I'll start off with
yeah.
I mean, I think everyone loves The Mandalorian. Like, The Mandalorian's just straight up great, right? No debates there. But the newest Star Trek is pretty poor, and the newest Star Wars is pretty poor too, Mandalorian aside. I think I got to go Star Wars, but a lot of it's not great. Certainly the recent stuff. Yeah. I need to get a Grogu figure to go behind me for the next cast or something. We'll put in the London office or something.
Well, I haven't even watched Star Trek, so I mean, at least you're able to give some opinion there. When will Globe.DX become Globe.Exchange?
Oh, that's a good one. So we bought the domain a while ago, actually, from a community member. And it was, they messaged saying that, and we thought that was a really good idea, and actually fixed a lot of issues around, flushing DNS changes, around sort of V2 futures and moving all the servers over however many thousands of miles that is. I think it'll coincide with the release of V2 futures. I don't want to give a date just yet, but later this year.
Got it. And I know we talked about Spot Exchange launch today. So one of the community members, Tali Abraham, is asking, will you list TRON, ADA, and SHIB?
You know what? Everyone wants SHIB right now.
the top 3 coins in the industry.
Yeah, I think we'll probably get around to them sooner or later. We're working out the right cadence for it. right now, I want to focus a bit more on the projects that we'll do for gems and for IEOs, get them listed. The ones which are more kind of futures, adjacent, and then we'll look at doing the sort of majors and futures to accompany them maybe like a week or two after.
Gotcha. One from Nick is, I actually don't know if we should talk about, if you want to reveal controversial information, but what is your favorite football team?
That is too controversial.
It's too controversial.
In Britain, it's very controversial.
Yeah.
If you support the wrong team, people hate you, so you can't.
Yeah. Maybe we'll go to Windows or Apple guy from May Logan.
Sorry?
May Logan asks, are you a Windows or Apple's guy? Linux. Wow. Got a real coder. Here. It's good.
And after Linux, what's that Rust operating system? Actually, I've never used it, but I want to give that a spin sometime soon.
Yeah.
I like what they're doing.
Very cool. Hero asks, when is Pancake Swap coming?
Oh yeah. I don't know, in a bit. I think it's helpful because it gives a lot of Redux. Thanks, Crypto Joe. That's the rest of us. I think the Pancake Swap is nice because it kind of brings us to the attention a lot of Binance customers. But there's been sort of other flows from Binance onto KuCoin, and just a bit of accumulation there on the Chinese customer base. So really, the reason we would do it, there's plenty of liquidity already on the Uniswap. So the real use case of BSC is to go, market yourself to Binance customers. I think we'll probably do that after Futures V2. That the next generation of Futures product. That's probably the right time. We were going to do it around the same time we did the Bittrex listing, but just there was, there was no real rationale for it at that point.
Got it. And next up from James, without an S, asks, what was the last book you read? Actually, I'm curious about this as well, or maybe do you have a favorite book that you would recommend to the audience?
My books are nerd books, like math books.
Oh no. Maybe Cryptonomicon. That's like a good mesh of.
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah. I've seen some white papers more recently that should be books instead of white papers. Some of the newer AMMs coming out have got some interesting ideas in them.
Nice.
But yeah, they should probably be considered books.
I think those are most of the questions. There's one more question. We can do one or two more questions. Let me read through the questions asked. I think there's one that's most voted. Any idea US or UK folks will be able to stake in the future?
So we will have a US-based offering. The UK, we're really just tracking what the FCA is doing. There needs to be a way to reward people in the US and the UK who happen to have acquired the token. The thing is that they're just technically banned right now, and it's just a bit problematic with the regulators.
Yeah, I think Tom in the comments laid it down. It's really down to FCA and the SEC.
The FCA is just very, very aggressive in what they're doing. The SEC is they're okay. Like they finally allowed they finally allowed an ETF, which is nice. And like did kind of enable a lot more buying.
Got it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for everyone for joining. If you have any additional questions or if you want to come to the Globe community channel and meet everyone else who was in this call,
we should do a drinks party afterwards.
Yeah. And
yeah,
we should have like a VR metaverse hangout session, Globe hangout area where everyone can come. But thank you so much, James, for your time. I know you got a lot of stuff that's going on, and and got to get back to it. But we always appreciate having you here every month. So thank you for joining, James, and all the community members. And we'll see you guys next Council of HODLers.
Thanks, Kenzo. Catch you next time. See you.